towards the climax of the book, Lyndon thinks that it all happened so fast. I wish there was more time, and that reflects a lot of my complaints about the whole series. Yes, this is going to be a somewhat spoiler review, but it's book 12 in a 12-book series, so yeah, don't expect anything else. So let's talk Waybound. It's the final book in Wight Cradle series, and it's the big epic battle. It delivers most of what one would expect. Some plot lines are completed. We have some big character moments, some epic boss fights. They mostly feel like optional boss fights before the final boss fight. And of course, the overpowered characters, or the characters gaining more power very fast in order to accomplish their goal, the master plan. So the book starts where the previous one ended, in suspended time, in a time bubble. Lyndon is trying to help his friend reach Monarch very fast, but things don't go exactly as planned because the Monarchs out there, the Dread Gods, are far more dangerous right now, so they don't have that advantage of time. They have to improvise on their plan. And early on there is a super epic fight that really feels like the optional boss battle, like the final two weapons in Final Fantasy VII or something, or the DLC dragon from Dark Souls 1. You know what I'm talking about, right? Those epic battles that you really don't have to finish in order to finish the game, but you go for them. That's how it felt, and it made me go in a bit of disbelief, because there are some in-world explanation for why those very young people are able to defeat epic enemies, but you have to strain the disbelief way far. However, to Wight's defense, it sort of makes sense once you realize that yes, there is Dross and there is Ethan and yada yada yada. There is a reason why this happens, but it really strains all credibility. You have to okay, yes, it's somebody min-maxing like crazy. Somebody's been maxing the party, but there are great twists and turns all over, some red herrings. There are things happening, and we have some more insight into the minds of the monarchs and what makes them tick. And so we have some great battles, and the way they are completed feels rewarding, because it seems like they'll go one way but they go another, and something unexpected happens, and there is a big character moment, and it resolves some plot lines. Everything is where it should be. I mean, you kind of expect that, hey, this character is going to defeat this character is going to defeat this character. There's a twist, and things happen, and there is always this skin of the teeth fight, and it works out in a way that you did not expect, either before reading the book or when the big fight started. And so the first 80% of the book is all those epic battles that feel very rewarding. There is always this tension, this thing that things can go off, and they go off, and they get into different tracks and off rails again. It feels very rewarding. And yes, all the big character moments, all the big insights of the characters, what makes them feel. I really love Zeal. Zeal is my spirit animal. But it's very interesting, especially when they have to go into their big moments of realizing who they are, and the heralds and the icons. These are great scenes. Yes, I assume you've read the book, alright? So yeah, then there is the final 20% of the book that felt somewhat off to me, because it kind of wraps up some plot lines here and there, but I felt like it was lagging, because basically there's the Word Heaven stuff that feels very anticlimactic in this book, the way the whole Apidan plotline is resolved in parallel to the big fight in Cradle. And then we get to the last 20%, we have some plot lines wrapped up, and then we have some plot lines set up, series, I guess, that Will Wight has promised us with Ethan. Some of the parts that happen in the last 20% I don't expect, like a surprise return from somewhere, but yeah, I was not as enthused. It was like a core to read this because something has to happen in between and it's cliff notes of what's happening. We don't get that much time with some of the side characters, which are important, but they were not that important in the series, like Linus' family. Yes, these are the stuff that Cradle missed. I would actually like some filler episodes, because what I read in the series was like a rush to the end. It was like rushing the campaign. And yes, there's a lot of video games analysis because it feels kind of video gamey, come to think of it, the way it works, the way the characters break the system. Even though it's not explicit Little RPG, there is this element in progression fantasy of Little RPG. There are clear levels, and there is a progression, so level up events, all this kind of stuff. But yes, there is crazy min-maxing when it comes to Linton. And you know, the way the new series set up, it was interesting because there is no cliffhanger at the end. Everything is wrapped up in a way, but in order to get there, we're just setting some background in order to kick off the new series, I guess, which will start some years after this one, I believe, the way the final chapter is. But yes, the final chapter was heartwarming. It was like a non-stop rush towards the 80%, then there was a lull after it that felt kind of out of place because we didn't have lulls in Cradle before that, and some interesting moments, I guess, of a certain character having to stay while they did not do that in the entire series, which felt very odd on the character. And then we get to the ending, which is there is some strong emotional moments towards the end of the book, but yeah, the final 20% of Cradle was not as good as the rest of it, I guess, or maybe it was not as good as the final half of the series, which is a big, I guess, letdown for some people. But I think that it could have done much worse as an ending. This ending was worthy of what came before it. And yes, the way that some of the things that happened after the big climax, it felt kinda odd and out of place, but necessary. It was like ticking off some boxes from the list of things to happen. And I think that the big surprise return was a failed attempt at fan service, because I don't think anyone was expecting or wanted that scene. I don't know, you know what I'm doing about it, read the book, and if you did want this scene of this surprise return towards the final 10%, leave a comment below that I loved it, but I did not. I thought it was like forced. But yeah, I think that Waybound was a worthy ending and I enjoyed a lot of it. I read it compulsively. I enjoyed moments of it. And at some point, I really wished to go back to book one and read everything, to redo this crazy travel again, because I think the second time around will be much more interesting. It's really great how a lot of things are set up so very early on. And by knowing, for instance, who the elderly was, finally learned this, gives some idea of what's happening in book one, for instance, or the labyrinth and the mysteries and the clans and all this stuff. It's... yes, I mean, when you first read, you don't know what everything is, and by the point you reach Waybound, you know how this works, and now you have an idea of what is the other advancement levels of the Abidan for the next series. So that's interesting. That's interesting. But yes, yeah, worth the ending. A bit of a soft ending of the book, but it does detract a lot from the entire series. The series was so much fun, and definitely recommend reading. But if you are watching this review, you know that, right? So leave your comments below about if you liked Waybound or not, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching.